All right, let's get cooking. Welcome to the latest edition of Chin Check Sports Radio. I'm your host, JD. I want to thank you all for taking the time out to listen to our program. And as always, we welcome any feedback, suggestions, comments, or criticisms, which improves the quality of our program, which ultimately improves your listening experience. All right, Dallas Cowboys, Week 6, 2019. I would say the most embarrassing loss of the Jason Garrett era. I tweeted earlier that this loss is the worst or possibly one of the worst losses of the Jason Garrett era. But of course, when you take the time to think about it, we try not to do our programs based on emotion. And really breaking that down, I would say the most heartbreaking loss of the Garrett era is a 2014 divisional playoff game against the Green Bay Packers. The Des Bryant catch that was overturned. Cowboys lost the game. I would say another embarrassing loss, and I go back to maybe 2012, final regular season game. Cowboys played the Washington Redskins with a shot to go to the playoffs, and they come up extremely short against Robert Griffin III when he set the world on fire during his rookie season. Tony Romo played a horrible game. The defense looked totally unprepared with Robert Griffin III in the zone read or the read option. So definitely, I thought that was a very embarrassing loss. But today took the cake. The Dallas Cowboys traveled to MetLife Stadium and lost to the winless New York Jets 24-22. Now you see on your screen the Chin Check Radio Dallas Cowboy Player of the Week is Brett Maher. Brett Maher kicked field goals of 50, 62, and 33 yards. However, missed a 40-yard field goal later on in the game. Now, what's significant about the 62-yard field goal is he's the only kicker in NFL history to kick a 62-yard field goal, or at least a 62-yard field goal twice in his career, and he did it last season. So, kudos to Brett Maher. Now, let me say this. I'm not saying anything bad about Brett Maher. He is a professional football player. He is a kicker, so clearly to be in the NFL, that means you are clearly at the top of your profession. That means he has to be one hell of a kicker. However, when your kicker is your best player of the week, that's a problem. That goes to show how inept you are totally on offense. Dak Prescott, 28-40 for 277 yards. Again, you want that $30 to $40 million contract, Dak, but just throwing it out there. Ezekiel Elliott, 28 carries, 105 yards and a touchdown, and most of those carries came in the second half. And I don't know why, for the life of me, they don't establish the run early. They have this thing, and I'm talking about Kellen Moore, the offensive coordinator, where he wants to put the ball in Dak's hands where that team is a running team. I don't know why. Tavon Austin, 5 receptions for 64 yards. Now, I do want to go back to Ezekiel Elliott. Now, they're going to say, well, the New York Jets was stout in the middle with Quentin Williams. I think Guy McClendon, there was another Williams on the team. I understand that, but when you start pulling your offensive linemen, you start running away, you start running basically off tackle instead of through the middle. You saw how you got productive yards, but just throwing it out there. I mean, you can't keep running to a wall and expect the wall to give up. The Dallas Cowboys defense gave up 382 yards to Sam Darnold, who was possibly questioning his mortality, battling mononucleosis or mononucleosis, missed the previous couple of weeks. 23 of 32 attempts, 338 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Made him look like Tom Brady today. Robert Quinn, 2 sacks, and DeMarcus Tank Lawrence, and I keep saying this, 2 tackles. Michael Gallup, he's going to get some of this too. Michael Gallup dropped a couple of passes, but I'm going to put a lot of that on Dak Prescott because a lot of passes were high, and I don't understand why the coaches cannot see. Clearly, there's a mechanical issue because when his passes are inaccurate, they're extremely high, and even when the passes are completed, his receivers have to damn near jump out of the stadium to catch his high ball. So clearly something is a mechanical issue. Going back to Dak Prescott, he was hit today, and he was hit a lot. The defensive line got a lot of pressure. They hit him. They hurried him. They hit him after he threw the football, so he definitely took a beating today. And let me say this. You played a winless Jets team who was on 4, who just got blown out by the Eagles 31-6 the previous week. Now, I know what some sympathizers might say. Well, they were missing left tackle Pro Bowl, perennial Pro Bowl, perennial All-Pro, future Hall of Famer left tackle Tyron Smith. Their best offensive lineman, probably the most consistent offensive lineman this season, right tackle Lyle Collins. Starting wide receiver Amari Cooper, who was out of the game early with a bruised quad, as well as Randall Cobb. And I say that to say I don't give a rat's ass about any of that. They should have limped their way into New Jersey, which is actually where the Jets play, the New York Jets play. They should have limped their way into that stadium and limped out of there with the loss. You are playing a team who just welcomed their quarterback. You are playing a team who is winless. You have Super Bowl aspirations. Now, here's where I'm going to get on Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott, you want $30-something million. You have Super Bowl aspirations. I don't want to hear that, well, we didn't have this, we didn't have that. If you're that franchise quarterback who's commanding that type of large contract, you're supposed to beat a winless team without your weapons. Sorry, I'm not giving any more excuses. I didn't give any excuses for the previous 2 games. Other people said, well, they played the Saints team, their defense is good. You know, even though they didn't have their starting quarterback, but the defense is good, so the defense came and they played emotional. Okay? You played a Green Bay Packers team who their weakness in their defense is stopping the run, and you get blown out by the Packers. It took another fourth quarter effort. And same thing today with the Jets. You fall behind against the winless New York Jets in the first half, and you make another comeback in the fourth quarter. Now, I know they're going to say 24-22 was another close game, and they could have made the 2-point conversion. It means nothing. You really shouldn't be falling behind in the first place against a winless team. Dak Prescott says after the game, we've got to start faster. Until we figure that out, we're going to struggle. What? Excuse me? We've got to start faster. Until we figure that out, we're going to struggle. No, you're going to lose. Because you were able to pull that against the Giants. You were able to pull that against the Redskins. You were able to pull that against the Dolphins. Now you played 2 good teams. It came back to bite you. And you played a mediocre team, and it came back to bite you. At some point, you have to come out of these games aggressive. At some point, you have to come out of these games running the football. I do not know why it took Ezekiel Elliott to finally start getting over 100 yards in the second half. I don't know why Kellen Moore has this belief that he wants to put the ball in Dak's hands at the beginning of the game, when you have shown in the last couple of weeks, when you put the ball in the man's hands, things do not go well, especially at the beginning of the game. I don't understand why. Because Dak Prescott clearly is not that type of quarterback. Definitely a bad loss. Definitely an embarrassing loss. I really watched the game all day, kind of speechless as to what I was seeing on the TV screen. Last week, I did a broadcast on the future of Jason Garrett. And at this point, folks, I really don't know. I truly don't know whether this guy should last the season, because there was something that caught my eye during the game. When I think this is when they held him, when the Cowboys are starting to rally back, and the defense finally made a play. And he was doing his usual, being cheerful on the sidelines and clapping the team up and patting guys on the head and kind of giving kudos to the team as they're walking off the field. And usually the team is very receptive to what he's doing. But on that particular instance, I didn't see players giving him much of a reaction. I really didn't see that. Players kind of walked past him, lightly patted his hands. They didn't seem too into dealing with him. So that made me kind of open my eyes. Maybe it might be time to kind of switch things up around here, because to lose to an 0-4 team who got crushed the last couple of weeks against the Patriots and the Eagles, and oh, by the way, you play the Eagles you played the Eagles on Sunday night, to come out that awful against a winless team. I mean, come on, man. That's just inexcusable. And what even makes it worse, you're driving the ball at the end of the second quarter, middle towards the end of the second quarter. You get stuffed on a 4th and goal. Okay? Next possession of the Jets, you give up a 92-yard touchdown pass. I don't know what in the world Chidobe Awuzie was doing. If he thought he had man, if he thought he had safety help over the top, then where was Jeff Heath? A awful play. Do you know that is the second longest pass play that the Dallas Cowboys have ever allowed? And on September 24th, 1972, Norm Snead made a pass to Rich Houston for the New York Giants, and that was 93, 94 yards. So think about this for a minute. Since that time frame, since September 24th, 1972, these are the quarterbacks that the Dallas Cowboys have faced, and some of them even on a consistent basis. Joe Montana, Steve Young, Donovan McNabb, Eli Manning, Drew Brees, Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers, Phil Simms, Mark Rypien, Randall Cunningham, Kurt Warner, Dan Marino, Jim Kelly, and John Elway. And even they couldn't do what Sam Darnold did to the Cowboys, completing a 92-yard touchdown pass. Folks, they're in trouble. I try not to jump the gun or get overly emotional in our critique, in our analysis, but something's not right. This goes beyond not playing, quotes, playing anybody in the first 3 games. It is the same repeated pattern. The defense looks lost in the first half. The offense has not even shown up to the stadium. So there's something there. They are coming out unprepared. I don't know what the problem is. On defense, they're unprepared. On offense, they're not executing. Dak seems to have regressed in these last couple of days. I'm not giving brownie points to almost leading the team to a comeback victory. You don't lead teams to comeback victories against a winless team when you have Super Bowl aspirations. Super Bowl quality teams do not fall behind on the road to winless teams. I could care less about all that. So to have Super Bowl aspirations, I don't see it. We might need to temper those aspirations a little bit. Hopefully win the division, because that is not good. And on the schedule, you got to play the Buffalo Bills. You got to play the Patriots. You got to play the Bears. So it's one. You have to play the Lions and the Vikings and the Eagles. So listen, this thing is not going to be easy, and they need to right the ship immediately, because they really run a good risk of being under 500 come next Sunday night around the same time as I'm getting ready to do this broadcast. So definitely a little bit of concern in Dallas land. I try to be the eternal optimist here, but I'm also a pessimist. Well, not a pessimist, but I'm actually a realist. And I'm looking at these games, and I'm just not. I just don't see it. I don't see how you are coming out flat in the first half of football games. Yes, you're going to tell me, yeah, you play all 4 quarters and it's 4 quarters of a game. No, the point is playing well, playing productive, and executing in all 4 quarters. Not just in the third quarter, not just in the fourth quarter where now you're behind and you're piling up yards and now everybody's in hurry mode. Definitely not a good look. I know some people are going to say in the first half, that touchdown, that should have been a touchdown, that was called back for pass interference. You know what? Super Bowl teams are good enough to overcome those penalties. So clearly, if a team with Super Bowl dreams and aspirations cannot overcome that penalty to beat a winless team on the road, then you should not be considered a Super Bowl team. It's that damn simple. So definitely they're gonna have some soul searching to do. They're gonna have to right the ship, because here come the Eagles coming to town, who just got spanked by the Minnesota Vikings. So we're gonna have to do something here. So I don't know, the Jason Garrett era. This might be coming towards the end of the Jason Garrett era. I don't know, but this loss is the most embarrassing loss of the Jason Garrett era. So let's hope that they right the ship. We have some sad news in the world of boxing. Welterweight champion Errol Spence Jr. on October 10, 2019 was involved in a car crash, driving his Ferrari, as you see the image on your screen. Driving his Ferrari, speeding, lost control. Around 2:46, 2:47 a.m., The picture that you're looking at is a still shot of surveillance footage by a nearby sports bar called Knockout Sports Bar near downtown on the outskirts of Dallas, Texas. Loses control of the car and is ejected from the vehicle. Now, my little brother Wesley sent me the video, and of course, it's all over the internet now. I think you see, I could have swore I seen the video where you see Errol Spence being ejected from the vehicle. But luckily, he has no broken bones, no fractures, but does have some laceration to his face. I've read another report that somebody close to him via the Dallas-Fort Worth that he might possibly lost some teeth, but I don't know. But I don't know about that. That's what's been reported. But he is expected to make a full recovery. So just want to say, Errol Spence champ, definitely we hope you recover. We're glad you're okay. That's the most important thing in any type of vehicular accidents. We hope, we definitely hope you're okay. We're glad that it wasn't more serious than what it was. So we hope you make a full recovery, and we hope to see you back in the ring fighting the fights that we want you to fight. Just let this be a lesson, young guys, just be careful out there with what you're doing. He just fought the biggest fight of his life, beat Sean Porter in a Fight of the Year candidate. You're feeling on top of the world. You're driving a Ferrari. You got money. You're doing your thing. You're speeding. You don't have your seatbelt on. Just be careful, because we don't want anything to happen to you young guys out there. So, Errol Spence, brother, I definitely hope that you heal quickly and we see you get back in the ring. My only concern is I hope that this injury does not set him back, or does not set you back too much. Well, obviously you're gonna have to worry about recovering first, but then when do you start training again? How do you start getting into fighting shape? Can you actually go back to boxing after being involved in a car crash? I know, being in a recent car accident myself, any type of car crash and being ejected from the vehicle, they did all type of CAT scans and head exams. So hopefully, I don't know if he had a concussion. So I just hope that it's nothing that can affect his career, or it doesn't take too much out of him to resume his boxing career and get back to being a champ. Well, he is a champ, but let's see him getting those fights that against Bud Crawford and Manny Pacquiao that the public wants to see. But the most important thing is that, number one, he wasn't any more injured than he was. Nothing broken, no life-threatening injuries. So we just hope that, champ, you get back on your feet in no time. And this one again, courtesy of my little brother Wes. He sent me the article of a junior middleweight fight in Wintrust Arena in Chicago, Illinois, between Olympian Charles Conwell versus Patrick Day. Charles Conwell, 10-0, 7 knockouts, versus Patrick Day, who's actually a New York firefighter, 17-0, 17-3 with 6 KOs. Definitely Patrick Day, and if you watch the video, was knocked down in the 4th and the 8th round, and in the 10th round was caught with a left hook where he was instantly knocked out. I'm talking about hit the canvas and the back of his head hit the canvas. And I think sometimes that gets lost when a guy gets knocked out. When a person is hit on a point of the chin and the central nervous system shuts down completely and he is totally just incapacitated, it's 2 impacts. The first impact is fist to chin. The second impact is when he hits the canvas, the back of his head makes hard contact with the canvas. So I always say that's twofold. They say that he was stretched out of the ring, taken to Northwestern Hospital. He suffered a seizure while on the way. He was given a breathing tube, and now he's in a coma. Now they don't know if he fell into a coma or was it a medically induced coma to reduce the swelling on his brain. And we hope that he makes a full recovery. Folks, if you go back and listen to the broadcast I did about the late Maxim Dadashev, I talked about the realities of the fight game, you really need to go back and listen to that broadcast, because I actually break down the injuries in the ring. And it's sad to see. It was sad to see a young guy like that injured. And I know, yes, those are the risks that you take in boxing. But even when it does happen, it's still sad and it's still scary, because we don't want anything bad to happen to Patrick Day. That type of brutal knockout, luckily he's a fireman, out of a coma or in a coma. We're going to pray that once he gets out of a coma, he kind of let boxing go and go back to his day job as a firefighter. Definitely a scary scene. And the thing that warmed my heart, why I love the Sweet Science so much, No, it's not for the knockout. No, it's not to see a guy stretch in the ring. It was Charles Conwell. Charles Conwell, of course, when you win the fight, you're excited, you're pumped up. Once he realized he knocked Patrick Day out, he ran on the ring ropes, he celebrated. He, was excited. That was a big win for him. And I think once he realized that Patrick Day was still hurt and Patrick Day was still on the canvas long after the celebration, you can see the worry on his face. You can see the concern on his face. You can see how it was not intentional, or he wasn't intentional to try to hurt the guy. He was simply just doing his job as a competitor. And that's the one thing I always respect about boxing and combat sports, is because you can go in the ring, which is a combat setting. You're doing your best. The other guy's doing his best. Your ultimate objective is to win the fight, but you're not trying to hurt anybody seriously. And the fact that you saw the concern on Charles Conwell's face, it said a lot. He wasn't trying to hurt the guy, so that shows he is a classy individual. And even myself, being a competitor, when I injured a guy in the tournament one time, I spent so much time apologizing to the guy. I had to realize that I had a next match coming up, because that's how bad I felt to hurt a fellow competitor. So Charles Conwell, you have my deepest respect on that, and I hope it's nothing that affects you psychologically going forward, because you were simply doing your job. Unfortunately, those things happen in boxing, but I don't want you to feel, or you start to feel guilty about it, or you feel like you don't want to hurt anybody else. I hope it doesn't affect you for the rest of your career. You have a promising career coming up. Keep training hard and keep doing your thing, and we hope to see big things from you. And lastly, to end this show on a comical note, this guy on your screen, Brandon Marshall, a former NFL wide receiver of the Denver Broncos, the Miami Dolphins, the Chicago Bears, the New York Jets, the New York Giants, the Seattle Seahawks, and the New Orleans Saints. 12-year career from 2006 to 2018, has decided in his mid-30s, 34, 35, to become a professional boxer. I'm all for chasing one's dreams, okay? I'm all for doing what you want to do. If the mind says do it, do it. Nobody should tell you what you shouldn't do. I'm all for it, and I respect chasing the dream. But again, I'm also a realist. You're entering the fight game at a very late age. And you went on there and you said that you want to fight the top heavyweights, Tyson Furies, and Deontay Wilders, Anthony Joshua. Okay. Deontay Wilder himself came to professional boxing relatively late, and you can see sometimes by his rudimentary skills in the ring, but his strength, his power, and his conditioning and his chin kind of makes up for his lack of skills. He's not as polished as, they say, a Tyson Fury. And Deontay Wilder's heavyweight champion of the world. And he was exposed in that Tyson Fury fight. Luckily, he had the knockdowns that preserved the draw, but exposed bad. Brandon, brother, you really don't have boxing experience. And let me just say this. As much as I respect what you're doing, trying to get inside the boxing game or trying to make your way in the boxing game, to say you want to fight the top heavyweights, I feel is very disrespectful, because this is not the football field. An official is not going to throw the flag because some receiver hit you in the head, or some receiver or some DB led with his head, or some DB chopped your legs out, or you were a defensive receiver. It doesn't work like that in boxing, my friend. These guys are going to hit, and they're going to hit you hard. And these guys are trained professionals. Let me say this again, trained professionals. Go ask Conor McGregor what happened when he stepped into a boxing ring. And oh, by the way, before you tell me where he fought a competitive fight, you fought a competitive fight against a pro boxer who was retired for what, a year and a half? So he knew not to fight an active boxer who trains every single day. And he still ended up getting dropped because I wish he would hit the canvas personally as opposed to just stopping that fight. But clearly he didn't have the conditioning to keep up. And once he got hit, all that went away. So be careful what you ask for, brother, because once you're in that ring, it'll say a lot about who you are. So be very careful with that. This whole thing of just want to jump right into MMA or boxing without any type of form of experience, thinking to go to the top. It doesn't work like that. Guys who become world champions are guys who box literally since they were children, teenagers. This is their life. This is not a hobby for them. This is their life. Your great champions started boxing, the Muhammad Ali's, the Bernard Hopkins, the Floyd Mayweathers. They were boxing when they were children. You're jumping this as a 35-year-old guy. Body could be physically worn out from football. Do you have the cardio, the stamina, the endurance? Can you take a punch? That's the main thing with a heavyweight. Yeah, he's a solid guy, about 220, 230. But can you take a punch? Because remember, these professionals know how to punch. They know they're accurate with their punches, and they know the sweet spot to hit you. So that's why I laugh. You're calling out all the top heavyweights, and they're probably going to blast you out inside of 2 rounds. So, Brandon, brother, just keep training. If you want to get a couple fights under your belt, I respect that. Brother, chase your dreams. But I'm just saying, just don't want to stay in the kiddie pool for now. Don't go into the deep end. Don't go into the deep end of the pool. And stay in a kiddie pool at the resort. Don't go in the ocean with all the sharks. Just putting it out there. All right, well, that concludes tonight's program. We recently signed up for Twitter, so yes, we're becoming part of the Twitter race. You can check us out, Chin Check Radio on Twitter, and I don't know if it means anything, but it's @radio_chin. So this is Chin Check Radio signing off. Until the next time.